It's time for Confessions of a Former Capo Snob. I used to be a Capo Snob. If you used a capo back in the day, I would look down upon you from my little pointy elven nose and say, I don't need a capo. In fact, there was I was doing a recording out at this beautiful place called the Bridge Studio for a wonderful cowboy, not country music, but cowboy music artist, Adrian Brandon. Adrian, if you're watching this, you're amazing. And Adrian, I'm just going to name drop this whole episode, so buckle up. Adrian had this song called Old Dale, and I was trying to play this thing. And honestly, I was okay for about 3 or 4 takes, but you know, you're trying to catch this magic moment. And after a while, I kid you not, my left hand was like, I was like looking like this on my guitar neck. You know, I was cramped up. And I remember I was struggling, and Shannon Davidson, the owner of the studio and the guy engineering it, kept looking at me, and he walked out from behind the console and he handed me this old Kaiser capo, and he just silently and sort of like an old wise man, you know, trying to help a young idiot do better with his life. You know, I used to look down on the capo because I thought, well, that's just making life easy. And the truth is, there's a lot of things that are worth your time that make life easier and not harder, that are worth investigating in. And don't look at the capo as a crutch. Don't look at it as a, you know, I'm only comfortable playing in these keys and therefore I will capo everything. If you're looking at it that way, then yeah, that's not necessarily the best outlook. But if you're looking at it like a harmonic tool that gives you all these really cool textures and flavors that you couldn't get otherwise, or if you could, it would be very difficult, then capoing is the right thing to do. So this is Confessions of a Former Capo Snob, and here's what I'm going to do on this episode. I'm going to show you a few different things. Number one, I want to make sure that you know how to transpose. In other words, you know, we'll pick a couple keys and then we'll use the capo to get some different sounds, and we'll talk about that. Number two, I want to tell you a really cool story and then also a capo revelation that I had, and I learned it from another person. And then number three, I want to show you kind of an unorthodox way to use the capo. And a lot of y'all probably know it, but if you don't know this, I think this will give you a lot of cool ideas. And I hope it spurs you on to write something, because the capo is really great for that too. So first things first, make sure you got your coffee going. And if you haven't sent me your coffee, at the end of this video, there'll be a little screenshot there that you can send me your coffee. I want to drink your coffee. Capo! All right, so first things first, let's look at 3 different types of capos. You got the old Kaiser capo. Nothing wrong with this. Eventually, truth be told, this little spring here will wear out. Especially, you know, I don't know about you, but I've like capoed, you know, binders to music stands, and there's things you end up squeezing together. Because look at this. It's almost a pair of vice grips or channel locks, right? And it makes a cool sound. Yep, it's a great capo, don't get me wrong. But to me, the next step up is the good old shub capo, and I just like saying shub. It sounds like a sheriff of a small town who's also maybe the judge and runs the local newspaper. Shub, right? Super great capo, love this. And then you got this G7. This is my go-to capo. I don't know how it works. Space age polymers, probably something like that, but it's got this little lever here to unlock it on the side. And so, using the capo, you gotta know how to transpose, right? And you also, why to transpose. So first of all, how to transpose. Let's say we're in the key of C, and we're just doing a, you know, a 1-4-5. Right? C, F, G. Well, there are things, even just then on that C chord, I was putting my pinky here, catching that G up on the high E string, and then going to F with that G still there, and that G still there on that G chord, right? There's little things that you do in every key, in every group of chords that you just like the way they sound, they feel good in your hands. Well, why don't you capitalize on that? Why don't you use that? So if I'm going to transpose this, so there's my C, there's the root note, it's the bottom of this chord, right? Here's an A. So if I want to play C, then with A shapes, right? I need to move this up here. So A sharp or B flat, B, C, capo on the 3rd fret. And now all the things that I might do with an A, like an A sus2, so just then I'm just doing this A sus2 to a D sus2, and then this little E where I'm walking up in thirds, right? I like the way that feels in the key of A, and then doing that in C just adds a little point of interest that makes that 5 chord now sound really interesting. What if I go, okay, here's C again, drop my capo, here's C again, and then now what if I want to do it in the key of G? All right, we'll take your G chord, so this bottom note is a G, E, F, F sharp, G. I need to get this to a C, so if I move all the way up here, so G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. There's my C. Well, I need to have a bar on the 5th fret, right? So now I'm going to put my capo on the 5th fret. Now what's cool about this, in that same progression, to me, each one of those have kind of its place where it sets, and it has its own point of interest. So using the capo to take a familiar, even super duper simple chord progression and kind of spice it up or liven it up, sometimes just slapping a capo on all of a sudden makes all the difference. And also, hilariously, sometimes a singer will feel more comfortable singing in the same key but with a higher timbre, right? Meaning that the chords are a little bit more chimier and almost kind of get sort of mandolin-y as you capo up and keep moving up. So try that. That's the first thing. Capo! Okay, so now I want to tell you a real-world application and how this came about where a capo saved the day. Okay, and not just with me, but with, imagine in a situation where you have 3 guitar players, every single one of us were using a capo. So the story goes like this. Alec Davis, actually, and I were in Nashville doing a recording for a song that he and I collaborated on called Fall For Me. You can find it on Spotify, Fall For Me, shameless plug. It is what it is, embrace it. So anyway, we were recording this song, it's in E flat, and so I was tuned down to E flat, and I'm playing as though it's an E, right? Well, I look over there, and the guy playing electric guitar on this is a guy named Ebo, and Eric's his real name, but everybody calls him Ebo, and he's an awesome guitar player, master of all things, great guitar tone, and just an amazing individual. Well, I look over there, and it looks like he's playing in D, and I'm looking through the window, and I end up saying, man, Evo, what are you doing? Are you playing? What are you tuned to? Because this was an E flat, and he was making D chords. He goes, well, I'm actually tuned up to F. He had light strings on his guitar, and then he dropped D. So tuning up a half step and dropping the D put him in E flat, and I thought, whoa, I got to do that. Well, fast forward, when Alec and I were playing out, this song would come up, and there was another electric guitar player. So Jack, the other electric guitar player, would play with capo on 3rd fret. Alec would play in E flat, and it would sound like this. Forgot the chords, but anyway, Jack would play a capo 3, and Jack was using at that time mainly an SG and a Les Paul. Well, I would do the Ebo trick, and so I would actually play capo 1 and then just drop D. Now I'll tell you, this is where the strength or the weakness of your capo really comes into play. Where'd I do my tuner? Where'd it go? Oh, it's back here. How you doing? This is where the strength or the weakness of the capo really comes into play, because you should tune every time, but man, The G7 needs very little adjustment. This is not a G7 commercial, but if you find a knife that cuts good, you're gonna tell your friends about it. So this now with that E flat guitar. So usually I was playing my PRS with that was like or sometimes I play my telly, but the different electrics capoed in different spots on the neck and then with an acoustic. Now, eventually Alec got into a world where he was playing a whole step down, so he would then have to capo up to play that too. But I'm telling you, the sound of those different textures kind of melding and swishing and googling around with each other was really cool, because what you end up getting is you end up getting some of these harmonic overtones that you wouldn't achieve otherwise if we were all just tuned to the same thing. So that's a really cool, I think, real world example of capoing. So now I want to show you something a little different with the capo. All right. So I know I was giving the Kaiser capo kind of a hard time earlier. I take it back, because in this situation, the Kaiser comes in clutch. Because what you got is, because of this spring and this rubber pad, you can actually kind of capo half of the neck. So what I'm gonna do is, normally when I capo, I'm coming from up here, right? Because I don't want this thing here in my way, but in this case, I kind of have to do that because I'm only capoing from the D string to the high E string on the 4th fret. And by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm creating kind of a G sharp minor 7 or a B6, or if I play an E in the bass, I've got kind of an E major 7, right? Just with that. And so then if I play any kind of E major activity in thirds, we've talked about this, and then maybe come down here. Right? Well, if I do that with this guy here, I get all these really cool open strings that I can kind of hammer on and pull off. Listen to what happens. It's really pretty, and it kind of creates almost kind of, I don't know, it's sort of mandolin-y, lute-y, otherworldly kind of effect. Okay, so what if we do that exact same idea, but this time we're going to capo it on the 4th fret, or excuse me, the 2nd fret, and we're going to down tune the low E to a D. And so now, because it's on the 2nd fret, you've got F sharp minor 7 or A6 or this D major 7. The same stuff that I was just doing in E, except this time it's going to be in D, so it's going to be on the 10th fret here. There's all sorts of interesting things that you end up finding when you embrace the harmonic separation that the capo gives you. So, if anything, I hope this particular Chords and Coffee, I haven't even drank my coffee yet. I hope this has helped settle the debate that capos are not just crutches. Capos are actually really cool harmonic tools that you can use to get a little harmonic separation between you and another guitar player or just another instrument that makes chords. What are some of your favorite songs that use capos? Comment below. Maybe we'll take a look at some of those. You know, we do this every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. I hope that you'll join us next week. You know, we're living life the best we can with a guitar in our hand and drinking a little coffee in the process. Y'all have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next Saturday for another Chords and Coffee.